Wes Huff is wrong about the King James Version. Now, he's got two videos about the King James. Why I personally don't recommend the KJV, and the KJV, the King James Bible, has archaic words. And that is the gist of both of these videos, is that he doesn't recommend the King James, though he says he likes to read it, but he doesn't recommend it because they have obscure words. Now, that is in sharp distinction to the Trinitarian Bible Society, who prints King James versions and a lot of other material related to that. Now, we're going to look at this little pamphlet they published. It's actually kind of a little book, The Authorized Version, A Wonderful and Unfinished History. I got this in 2011 during the 400th anniversary celebrations. And we're going to look at what they say about the language here. First, we're going to talk about Tyndale. We speak of Tyndale's English and his goal was that of Wycliffe, a translation of the Bible into English that anyone could understand. He did not want the Bible limited to educated clergymen, using terminology which would have been beyond the average farm laborer. At the same time, however, as ably illustrated by his work, Tyndale was not interested in translating the Scriptures into street language. The Scriptures were special and deserved more than the flat, unmelodic, often coarse language used in everyday vernacular. Tyndale knew the plowboy of his day would not have been educated, but the plowboy was able to understand or intelligent enough to learn more than simple farm lingo. Tyndale's translation reflects this middle ground. So Tyndale's intended audience were illiterate plowboys, illiterate public, but he had enough faith in them that he understand that they would have been able to understand the book, to understand the words, or intelligent enough to learn what it meant. Contrast that with Wes Huff, who says I'm not going to recommend the KJV because it has words that are old and obscure. Now let's move on here. Here's what the Trinitarian Bible Society has to say about the vocabulary in here. In connection with the vocabulary, there is a general rule. If a word is not understood, find out the meaning. Ask, inquire, consult a general dictionary. Online searches are very good for this. Look in a Bible dictionary. Ask a parent, a pastor, or other church leader. A few questions will settle the understanding of a word forever in your mind. And after all, the vocabulary of our English Bible is by no means extensive. We are told that Shakespeare used from 15 to 20,000 different words, and the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament have their own distinct vocabulary. Our English authorized versions, 8,000 different words, comprise a surprisingly small vocabulary, and most of the words are short, averaging little more than 4 letters. It is a great advantage of the AV, the authorized version, that vocabulary will not change with passing trends. So what do they say? They recognize that there are words that people don't use today that are archaic, obscure, whatever. And what do they say? Ask, inquire, consult a dictionary, look it up. They are confident in the abilities of the reader of today to find out, to understand, to inquire and learn what these words mean. They're not like Wes Huff, who says, I don't recommend it. Just read a modern translation, the ESV. And of course, there's a lot of problems with that ESV because the ESV is actually a revision of a revision of a revision, and it's based on faulty text. It's based on a Greek text that doesn't represent the text the church has used for 2,000 years now. It represents an old text full of corrections, full of errors, missing verses, etc., etc. But let's see what they do. The TBS, that is. So here we are back at Wes Huff. The Trinitarian Bible Society, if you go to their resources section, you click on articles, you'll come to this page, and you want to find Bible word list and reading plan, and that's over here. Got that open. A Bible word list and daily reading plan. A list of words in the authorized King James Version describing terms no longer in everyday use, or now used with a different meaning, and also a daily reading plan. So here you have a short little pamphlet that you can print out or you can buy, full of words that are defined for you. So you can consult this and figure it out. Now, if you don't have this little pamphlet or you don't want to print out this pamphlet, you can always get a Bible, like mine. My Bible here, my King James, has a Cyclopedic Concordance. And there are 200 pages. 200 pages here of study material, of notes, of all kind of things. So let's find that word Homer. You know, Homer is a measure. What does it mean? Is it really about Homer Simpson? Of course, it's not about Homer Simpson. That's silly, and I'm being a little facetious. But you get a good Bible like this with a good dictionary or a concordance, you got Homer. Homer. It's a liquid measure. 10 baths, 388 liters, 86 gallons. So you can consult this, and you can be all like, this is what it means. I understand it. Now, some people are going to say, but I shouldn't have to use a dictionary to read the Bible. Well, the point is, yeah, you should have to use a dictionary to read the Bible. You should have to use study tools to read the Bible, to study it. You can't just pick up the Bible and read it and hope to understand it. That's just not how it's going to work. People spend lifetimes studying the Bible. Wes Huff has spent his life studying the Bible, studying the Greek, studying the Hebrew, studying to show himself approved, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's what you have to be. You can't just pick up the Bible and read it and be like, yeah, okay, I got it. You know, this isn't James Patterson or Stephen King. This is the Word of God. And you have to study. You have to study it. You have to study it. Imagine throwing away a book because, or saying, don't read a book because it's got weird words. Look at this. This is Finnegan's Wake. This is the most difficult book to read in the English language. If any book you're going to put down because of its language, it's going to be this one. It's going to be this one because it's basically impenetrable. But guess what? Even a book like Finnegan's Wake, you got to study it. And there you go. You have a book of annotations to Finnegan's Wake. This thing is huge. It's gargantuan. It's very big. Now, there's a lot more that could be said about this, and we're going to look at something else here. Is the King James obscure? Let's look at one verse. We're going to look at two verses here, actually. We're going to look at John 3:16. Very famous verse. Here it is in the King James. Here it is. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Tell me, what is obscure about that? What is obscure about that? For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life. Seems pretty cut and dry. Let's see what the ESV says. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have eternal life. That seems pretty simple too. But do you see what's missing? For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. King James. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. The King James has the word begotten, while the ESV gets rid of that word and says it's his only Son. He gave his only Son. Did the Father give his only Son to the world? No, because we are sons of God by grace. The angels are called the sons of God. In Job, the sons of God sang for joy when he created the heavens. So Jesus is not his only Son, but he is, as the King James says, his only begotten Son. The NIV is much worse. It says, for God so loved the world, he gave his one and only Son. Does God have one only Son? No. Because like I said, we are sons of God by grace. The angels are called the Bnei Elohim, sons of God. But he is the only begotten Son. That is eternally begotten. That is Trinitarian language. That is erased from the ESV in this verse. Let's look at another verse here. This is John 1:14. John 1:14 in the King James says, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. ESV, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of the only Son from the Father, full of grace. And there it is again. They get rid of begotten. They get rid of begotten and say only Son. NIV says the same thing. His one and only Son. Not begotten. No Trinitarian language in these verses. But let's take a look at something else. One more verse. This is Psalm 2:7. And this is going to link John 1:14 to the Old Testament. Psalm 2:7, John 3:16, and John 1:14, John 1:18, all linked to this verse. Let's read in the King James. I will declare the decree the Lord has said unto me, thou art my Son. This day have I begotten thee. There's that word begotten. Now the ESV, surprisingly, includes that word. I have begotten you. The NIV says, today I have become your father. As if it's just a total, the Trinitarian doctrine is gone. Today I have become your father. No. So why is it that the ESV has begotten here, but not here in John 3:16? Why is that? Now you would say, well, see, it's still there. Well, it belongs here too. It belongs here too. And so you're getting rid of this Trinitarian language that it needs to be there. That's there in the King James, but it's not there in the ESV. So Wesley Huff is just simply wrong about the King James. If you come across a word that is obscure, that you don't understand what it is, you don't throw the book away. You find out what that word means. You look it up, and then you know what it means. And on top of that, the ESV is a poor translation. It is, in fact, a revision of a revision of a revision. If I'm correct, if I remember correctly, it is a revision of the NASB, which is like a revision of the NRSV, which is a revision of the RSV, which is a revision of the King James, and it is based on faulty Greek manuscripts that weren't even in use until the 1850s, when they were found, that the Sinaiticus was found by Tischendorf, Constantine von Tischendorf, in the Sinai monastery, being used as kindling. According to his testimony, they were using it as kindling. You know, nobody used that version of the Bible, that version of the Greek text, until recently. The last 200 years, 150 years or so, 100, whatever, since the 1850s when it was found. So, when it comes to archaic language, when it comes to the veracity of the text, Wes Huff is wrong about King James.